lots of you I recognize from last time. I'm glad you came back. And I'm being honest when I tell you, I do this for you. I do this because I've done this for 20 years. I know what it's like to go to the doctor and get 5 minutes and you have this many questions and you're not getting the answers you want. I'll give you the answers you want. As I always tell people, I am incredibly honest about this disease. I will never lie to you about any part of this disease. So we're just going to go through this. There are only so many things we can control in this disease. The main one that we can control is how we talk with these people. So I'm going to give you the rules and I'm going to explain them to you and it will all make logical sense. I always told you, you always see these two slides. So if you've seen them before, it's because you were here last time. If this is new, this is new. Dementia is a very thick book with lots of chapters. There's a chapter called Alzheimer's. There's a chapter called Lewy body. There's a chapter called multiple infarct or stroke dementia. There's HIV/AIDS, the fourth leading cause of dementia worldwide. All of them are different diseases and they all have different causes. But they lead to dementia, thinking problems, period. That's all that word means. So understand, your loved one can have Alzheimer's, your loved one can have a stroke. They both have memory issues. One is due to blood pressure, one is a horrible disease. Okay, so understand, doesn't matter why, but there's different reasons for this. Okay, the 3 cruel realities of Alzheimer's. So from now on, when you see AD, because Alzheimer's is a long word that's hard to type. AD, 1, the whole brain is dying. Not just the frontal, this is where people get confused. I understand why he can't remember, but why isn't he walking? Why doesn't he recognize me when I walk in the room? Why can't he say a full sentence to me anymore? Because all of that is what your brain does all the time. So it's affecting the entire brain. 2, it's progressive. There is an early stage, there is a middle stage, and there is a final stage to this disease. Okay? And that's why when you understand stages, that dementia, like when we talked about Alzheimer, from diagnosis to death is normally 15 years. It's a very long, slow. So if you tell me, I don't know what happened, but my husband and I woke up in the morning and my husband looked at me and didn't remember my name and didn't know who I was, and I took him to the ER and they said, well, it's Alzheimer's. That's not how Alzheimer's works. Alzheimer's isn't instantaneous. That's a stroke. Alzheimer's, he'd forget your name, but he'd remember who you are. You're my wife, and your name is, wait, I'll think of it. And he'd probably come up with it. It's slow. It's insidious. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And 3, there is no cure to Alzheimer's. Period. We have drugs and medications that kind of help, but they're not curing the disease. They're just buying you some quality of time. So once you get the diagnosis, okay, and again, no cure to this. So, communication, yes.
I just have a question. What's the extent, like, is there a year, like you didn't set a time, and like how many years, 15, 20, 25 years, what does it run?
15 is usually the longest.
Really?
For reasons, very few Alzheimer people, and I always tell people, no one dies of Alzheimer's, okay? No one ever progresses long enough that their brain just completely disintegrates and it's gone. They fall. They quit eating, so they die of malnourishment. Now, the doctor on the death certificate will always put Alzheimer's because it looks bad that somebody actually starved to death in America. Come on. We're supposed to be able to give you food. They quit drinking, so they dehydrate. Their blood pressure goes whacked. They have strokes. They die. They catch pneumonia, and they don't move enough, so they die. These are all the things that really kill Alzheimer's. It's just like HIV/AIDS. No one dies of HIV/AIDS. They die of tuberculosis. Stuff that we breathe in all the time, that we breathe in, breathe out, and our body already has an immune system to it. They lack it, so they die from it. Yes?
One other question. As they're deteriorating away, and they cannot connect the dots more or less in their mind.
Right.
Because of, the deterioration. Does the body start to shut down, like what you're saying? Is it shut down the organs and things like that? Like
No.
Does it do that?
No. Our organs, that's why, motorcycle riders, 30-year-olds that get in horrible wrecks and they skid the top of their brain off, and we're going, oh boy, organ donors. They have no brain. They've got a brain stem, so they're still doing beat, breathe, and swallow. Those are three things your brainstem will always keep going. Heartbeat, breathing, swallowing. Demented people, normally their organs do fairly well. It's the muscles start atrophying because they've lost their balance, that now we're using wheelchairs, so they start having problems there. But their heart, as long as they're eating, you're feeding the machine. Food's going in. As long as you're eating, by God, all the organs are going to work just fine, unless they're dying on their own from old age. Kidneys get old, livers get old, lungs get, hearts, everything gets old. But is the deteriorating brain going to trigger your heart to stop? No.
I just wanted to understand that a little more, and you explained it very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Anyway, so when we talk about communication, verbal, nonverbal, verbal, the actual words you're speaking, I love you, those three words. The nonverbal, how I say them to you, what I'm doing with my, I love you. I love you, same three words, two completely different meanings. I love you. That's the nonverbal. And that is a skill that we learn as children into adulthood. You walk in the house and your dad's standing there with his arms folded and his foot tapping, and he's looking at you. Do you assume he's happy with you? No. You learn that at 13. At 25, you walk in the house after being out with the boys, you're late, and the wife is standing there. The brain goes, I've seen that look. I know I'm dead. Okay, these are all the nonverbal parts, and we do it all smiling. I get a lot further going, how are you, with a smile on my face, versus how are you? She's nervous now. Well, I don't know. What do you want? So everything, our hands, how we do all that, are communicating. 90% of all communication is the nonverbal part, how we present it to people. Why did radio start to fade and then TV came in and took off? Because it was the first time we could actually put nonverbal in front of people all the time. And it took TV about 10 years to figure out how to do it correctly. But they figured it out, and we're all sucked into it. So, 90% is nonverbal. Always remember pas à tout. When you're working with these people, don't talk past them, don't talk at them, talk to them. And I know this happens all the time. You take your loved one to the doctor, and the doctor's looking at you going, so how's mom? Oh, she's fine. Doing anything wrong? Well, yeah, she's had a couple bladder infections. What else? And mom is sitting there. It's okay. And I'm picking on you as mom to go, is everything okay? Uh-huh. Oh, what's the issue? Talk to these people. Include them in part of the conversation. No one likes to be cut out of a conversation, especially if they're talking about you. Include them into that piece with doctors. Try to stay in the moment. Here we go. These are the rules. Listen to what they're trying to say. They have problems with short-term memory, i.e. short-term memory. If I'd say, yo, bud, can you go downstairs to the desk and ask him for a pen? Off he'd go. I'm pretty sure he'd come back, please, with a pen and say, there you go. That's short-term. If I asked him in a month what happened at the class, what do you remember? He probably wouldn't. That's not a major event in his life. Now, so that's short term. I only have to remember the pin long enough to get to the desk and get back up. He goes downstairs. He's standing at the desk. Guy throws open the door with a shotgun, comes in, starts firing at people. People are dying, and he runs out. He will remember that pin for the rest of his life. You know, what, oh, God, there's this time I was in this class, they sent me downstairs for a pen, and then everything broke loose. That's our long-term, our ability to store information. They have problems with short-term. Stay in the moment. Don't ask them, you know, what'd you have for lunch? They'll give you a guess. But don't say, well, why can't you remember? Okay? It's okay. You know, did you eat? Oh, yeah, I ate. Good. Was it good? Oh, it was fabulous. Okay. Stay in the moment. Don't try to make them go either direction, future or past. They can't do it for you. It becomes frustrating. If they don't understand you, rephrase the question. Let's go to dinner. Let's have supper. To request, same thing. Don't use medical terms ever. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. You seem to be suffering some dysphagia. And of course, I've also known that you're having a little bit of AFib. So much easier to say you're having trouble talking and your heart is fluttering all the time. People understand that. My mother had a PhD. As a kid, when we'd go to doctors, they all knew when they'd ask my mother, what are you? She would say, a nurse, because she didn't want them talking over her. So, as a nurse, they would talk at a level that she easily understood what they were trying to tell her. So, I never use medical terms with people. You know, how you doing with walking? You know, ambulating? How many of you know, oh, you're talking, you know, how are your activities of daily living going? Can you dress? Can you put your shoes on? You know, how are things going in the bathroom? Make it simple. If their speech is hard to understand, then know what you know about them to get what they're trying to tell you. Because people with dementia go into long-term for you. It's very, you know, I have a gentleman in another facility, he is 96. Ask him about World War II, and he is one of those gentlemen that is actually an ace. Did shoot down. He shot down 6 Japanese planes. He will go back to that lesson for you to tell you about his life. But he can't tell you what's going on the here and now. So I always have to listen to where he's going with his metaphor to say, you're frustrated with your wife. Yes. His wife has Parkinson's. He's 96. He has Alzheimer's. He doesn't understand why his wife is failing. And do you know how hard it is to explain Parkinson's to somebody that doesn't understand the brain? So I just have to tell him she has a horrible disease. He understands that. Then when he starts asking me questions about God, I always say, you know what? I can find somebody better for you on that one. I try to stay out of the God business with people. My favorite. If they're sad, let them express their feelings. Avoid the cheerleader syndrome. You walk in, mom is crying. Mom, what's wrong? Daddy. Well, you can do two things. You can roll your eyes and say, my God, he's been gone 10 years. Or you can say, let's talk about Dad. She's missing Dad. The fact that he died 10 years ago isn't important. What I don't want you to do is go, he's been gone 10 years, get over it, come on, we're going out for lunch. Let them express their feelings when they're sad. Because it's a horrible disease and they can pop up with reasons that they're sad. I can't remember things. I'm losing it. They all know this as they progress through early stage and in the middle. They know when they're losing it. Get their attention before you speak. We have this incredible ability, every one of us in this room, if our hearing is good, to be walking down a hall and have somebody go, yo! And we go, and we turn to address it. That's our brain going, huh, the sound is coming from behind me. I need to turn around to see who it is. Then I have to go to the back part of my brain, the occipital area, and look and go, oh, I recognize her. I've seen her before. And then I have to transfer it up here to get an emotion, smile. And then I got to go over here and say, hey, how you doing? Or, oh, hell, I don't know who she is. No, whatever the response is. And then I got to put emotion to it and stand there and wait. And while I'm doing all that, your brain is firing off the same stuff. You're looking going, he doesn't have any idea who I am. I can see it in his face, that blank shocked look. That's the nonverbal. You're reading it. So, the minute people have lost that ability, if you come in and your dad's walking down the hall and you're going, Dad, Dad, you're expecting him to go, oh, I'm processing information. I must turn my head to look behind me. They lose that ability. If you want their attention, get eye contact with them. You know, catch up with them, step around. Sweetheart, how are you? Because if you're walking down the hall, rule number 2, never startle somebody with dementia. They startle easily because they're lost. So if you come up behind them and just put your arm around them, hey, how you doing? Don't be surprised if the arms aren't flailing because you scared them. So always make sure you have their attention. If they can't, make sure they can see you. If you can't, they can't see you, you don't exist. You know that fun game, peekaboo, that works with babies? Now, it only works for about 3 months, and then their brains click in, and you do it, and you're doing that. And they're going, you're going behind the blanket, big deal. And you're thinking, what happened? They've developed what's called concrete operation. They now understand that the towel goes up, you're still behind the towel. If they can't see you, you don't exist. If they're in a dimly lit room, turn some lights on so that they can see you. If you're taking care of a loved one at home, turn on some light before you go in and go, Mom, are you okay? In the dark, because Mom's already afraid. You going in the dark, all she sees is a shadow. Remember, whole brain is dying. The ability of the occipital lobe to understand light, recognize faces, run it back and go, oh, that's my daughter, versus this is a rapist. You know, so make sure they can see you. Make eye contact. This shows that you're interested. And we all know, oh good, there's no youngins in here. We all know how irritating it was when we looked at our kids and said, have you cleaned your room? And they went, and they eye rolled you. And then you looked at them and said, what? And they go, I didn't say anything. And you're going, no, you eye rolled. And sooner or later, a Supreme Court decision will be made that parents that have faced eye rolling for several years can murder their kids. Okay? I'm sorry, I had girls 2 years apart, and I went through 8 years of eye rolling. You know, and I've told them all now. Now they have kids. And I'm going, Grandpa's going to teach them how to eat sugar, scream, and eye roll you. And they're going, oh, Dad. I'm going, I'm serious. I can't wait till you call me and go, my God, they eye rolled me. Yeah, you'll see. And when I talk about cultural differences, there are cultures that it's not polite to stare at somebody straight in the face until they've greeted you. In America, it's perfectly nice to, hi, how are you, even when you don't know anyone. Asian cultures, if she were older than me, I would look about her stomach. Hello, until she said yes. Then she's now given me permission to look her in the eye. So you have to be aware of cultural differences. Try to minimize the noise. How many times I've gone in to see people, their families sitting there, the TV's on, and they're talking to them, and they're going, they never pay any attention to me. Well, let's see. I have a TV or I have you. TV, you. I'm going to go with the TV. It's much more amusing to me. There's a lot more going on than your face, and I'm not being rude. I'm sorry. You know, turn TVs off. Now I have to focus to you. I got to look at you. But leaving a TV on or music on real loud, trust me, they can only focus to so much. Remember, they can still read your body language. Okay? You learned this at 13. You knew what it meant at 25. Your children learned what it meant when you were doing this waiting for them. That's long-term memory. Long-term memory isn't intact. It's still working for them. This is why they can tell you, tell me what you did during World War II, and they can tell you how old they were, where they signed up, what city they signed up, they can tell you all that. Ask them what they had for lunch, even if it's dripping down their shirts, they can't remember it. So, if you think sitting there going, well, Mom, are you okay? What's going on? It screams, I'm not interested, I'm closed off. You know, I always do several things when I go in to see demented people. I always take a chair. And I set it down so that our knees are at this level. I always look them in the face. I'm not that old, but I always put my hand out, and they love to shake hands. This is what they were taught. That was how you introduced yourselves. I'm not crowding her. This is considered a sexually neutral stance. That is not. This is. We're not too close. No, our bubble, you're not in my bubble, but we are in eye contact. We are on the same level. So I always, if you're thinking, why is the furniture changed every time I come in to see Mom? It's because I've dragged a chair over. If the only chair is another recliner, I drag it with me. Be calm. Be still when you communicate. If you're in a hurry, they'll think you're angry. And that's what our parents did. Where have you been? Who have you been with? Why didn't you call? I can't answer the first question, Dad. What makes you think I can catch up with you to the fourth one? Take your time. Where have you been? How was lunch? Did you enjoy it? And again, I'm always going to, there's no slide for this, so I'm just going to tell you. Really, when you're dealing with middle stage and beyond, please do us a favor. Believe about 50% of what they tell you about us, and we'll do you the same favor and believe about 50% of what they tell us about you. I had a gentleman come in to a facility and, I don't know what you guys are doing, and I was like going, whoa, slow down. What is the problem? My mother says you're not doing PT. I said, no, we were there today. He goes, well, yeah, and all your guy did was this with her. And I looked at him and I said, you honestly believe that that's all a physical therapist, 4 years of college, a state license, did that with your mother? He goes, well, that's what she said. I said, okay, well, I'm assuring you, no. They create drama. So, Don't respond to it. Relax. Let your body be confident. I always teach staff, always be relaxed. You look tense, they're going to read you as tense. Walk through the facility calmly. Always look relaxed. Never run. But always stay relaxed when you're dealing with your loved ones with dementia. Use body language to communicate. Don't look and say, why don't you go sit over there? It's never going to happen. Sweetheart, get up over here. I need you to sit. Sit right here. Hand patting chairs, pointing where you want. Give them every bit that you can. But don't say, come over here and sit down. Because you don't like the sound of it right there anyway. But it doesn't give them any clue. Remember, I have no short term. It should scare us when we think back now the last 2 years of Ronald Reagan. And I'm not being rude. Ronald Reagan, we now know, Nancy ran the White House the last 2 years and his staff. I watched a 4-hour documentary where they were just basically saying Nancy ran it. Because he was at that point entering into early stage Alzheimer's. So that means he was walking into cabinet meetings, looking around going, wonder what I'm doing here. That's why I had advisors with him all the time. Be willing to start and run the conversation. They lack initiative. How was lunch? Oh, really? Was it good? Was it as good as you could make it? Well, what else did you do? I'm running the conversation. I'm letting her answer back, but I'm not going, how was lunch? Fine. Well, what else? No, you have the brain. You control the conversation. Speak calmly and clearly. Keep your voice warm and empathetic. We all know you get a lot further with a pound of honey than a pound of, as my grandmother taught me, kitty manure. Always stay happy. I've never had a client ever tell me that you seem really angry. Because I always tell them it takes more skill to be happy than it does angry. So always when you come to see mom or dad, and I know it can be frustrating, but always try to stay, hi, how are you, mom? How are things going? Dad? And you're sitting there going, I'm so exhausted. I've been here every day for the last 2 years to see you, and you're telling me where have I been and why haven't you come to visit? And the correct answer is, I know it seems like it's been a long time, but how are you? Don't defend yourself. We'll get to that. Use short sentences, simple sentences. Limit multiple choice. Okay? Let's eat dinner. Let's get in the car. Never say, let's get in the car and then we'll go out to dinner, okay? Because the last thing they're going to remember is dinner, so they're going to wander to the dining room table and sit down. And you're going to be going, what are you doing? Car. Okay. Take things in steps, very short. Never throw open the closet and say, well, what do you want to wear? Because you're just opening yourself up to seeing everything come out of the closet. Do you want the blue shirt or the red shirt? Those are your choices. Limit it. And again, avoid the open-ended questions. What do you want to do today? Okay, let's be honest. We're all, mostly married in here. How many times you go, we're going to go out to dinner, I'll pick you up, we get home and it's, where do you want to go to dinner? And your answer is, I don't know. Where do you want to go to dinner? And my answer to you is, I don't care, wherever you'd like to go. To which, no, I'll go where you want to go. And then you go through the ethnics. Do you want Mexican, Chinese, because, you're going to end up at Wendy's. But no one wants to say, let's just go to Wendy's, it's down the block. Give them time to respond. How was lunch? Don't rush them. Avoid asking direct questions which are emotionally guilt-driven. Where have you been? Why did you do that? Why didn't you tell me you needed a bathroom? Okay, those are emotional guilt-driven questions. Because the answer, and I'm picking on you again, to stand up and say, if I didn't have dementia, do you think I would have wet myself like this? Why are you yelling at me? I have a horrible disease that is stripping my brain. Did I ever wet myself like this 5 years ago? Thank you very much. They can't say that to you. So asking guilt-driven, why did you break that? Because I have Alzheimer's. Again, I told you last time, none of them wake up and say, I think today I will go in the bathroom and I'll pee all over the floor. Then I'm going to walk out to the kitchen with not a stitch on and sit at the table. Then I'm going to dump and yell at my wife and tell her I'm not eating this. And then I think I'll go sit on the sofa and make a mess of that too. That will be a good start of the day. None of them plan this stuff. It's just what happens. So avoid, don't ask, why did you do this? If I didn't have dementia, I'd answer that question for you. Do not expect them to make complicated decisions. I worked with this client. He was going into late stage. I'm talking to his wife and him. And I finally said, I believe it's time for hospice. We are there. He's not eating anymore. He's starting to fall more. We're there. Can I call hospice and the doctor? And she's looking right at me and she goes, well, sweetheart, looks right at her husband and says, well, do you really want us to call hospice? Are you ready to die? I just don't know what to do. And I'm thinking, he doesn't know where he is, let alone make a decision about hospice. That's why I have you, Louise. I said, wait, I'll make this easy. So I called the daughter and the son-in-law and said, this is what's going on. They said, yes, do it. I said, okay, I'll move toward that goal.
Carm,
Yes.
you need just a tiny break. No. Just in case everybody sitting here might think, well, no one would ever do that. I'm telling you, loved ones do that to their loved ones.
Oh, yeah.
Being mad at them because they didn't remember their birthday and they just moved them into a memory care community. And they're mad because people do the most amazing things with their dementia loved ones. So
It's like they forget they have dementia. And then they interpersonalize it and then spread the guilt. I always tell people, if you get mad at your loved one, I want you to go outside, kick the tires on the car, shake your fist at God and say, damn disease, and then come back in. Because your husband didn't ask for this. And the only thing he did to get this was get to be older. Period. That's all he did. So if you're angry and upset, go kick the tires. Don't yell at your loved ones. They didn't ask for this. And again, like I told you last time, genetics and age, it's the only two things we know. But we don't know why, some people kick in at 60, some people kick in at 65, some wait till they're in their 90s to start having Alzheimer's. We don't know why they do that, but they do. Be ready to rephrase anything you say to them. Again, let's eat supper. So I'm not asking her, do you want supper? Do you want dinner? I need her to come to dinner. Let's eat. Short, simple. Lasagna's on the table. Let's go. Short. I'm not asking her, do you want lasagna? Because then this goes back to the original Mexican. No. Chinese. No. Burgers. Use humor. I always try to use humor with these people. Because they know, especially at this level, they know they're losing it. And I just tell them, it's okay. And I make jokes with them and we laugh about things. But again, if I'm working with your loved ones here, I'm very straightforward with them. By the time they've met with me a few times, they understand the disease and that there's not a lot I can do, but I'm here to help them make sense of it and work with the families. Okay, avoid using logic. Logic infers the ability to step through things. No, you're not going to use the car tonight because I gave you the car last night and I told you to be home at 12. You got home at 12:30. You left McDonald's fries all over the floorboard and it came back empty. So no, you're not using the car tonight. There's logic. A, B, C. That's how we work our logic. In a standardized mini-mental, which is just a test on thinking, one of the questions is take this piece of paper in your right hand, fold it in half, set it on the floor. That's called stepping. Can they follow the process? Like I said, quite frequently, they fold it in half, and then they look at me. And just so you know, I'm not being mean. The test says you can't tell them anything. And I usually have to look at spouses and go, stop! When I go, can you tell me the date? And they're going, he knows it's June. Thank you. We'll come back to that one and see if he remembers it. Take a piece of paper, fold it in half, set it on the floor. Sounds so simple. You're all going, yep, I could do that. That's easy. Demented people get lost in that process. Folding it. Which way is half? How many times is half? And then they look at me. Or they hand it back to me. They can't follow the third part of that. So we talked about this last time. Going to the bathroom. The number of steps it takes for me to go from here, successfully use the bathroom, and come back out. There's about 200. And losing a step in there anywhere along the line can come out with disastrous results. So stepping is hard. Respect their personal space. Always ask permission. Okay? I do this with staff. Families do it. We tend to walk up to people, and I'm big. Oh, she's so cute. Her body language is saying, what are you doing? You're in my space. Okay. And then we just go, okay, come on. I need you to come to lunch with me. Who are you? Why are you yanking on me? I don't get the idea. I don't care if you're my daughter, my son-in-law. Respect them. Sit down. Hey, it's lunch. Can I help you? This is that basic animal thing. This is what dogs do. And then one will put its head down. Okay, we do the same thing. Get down on their level. If the client or the person acts sexually inappropriate or says something sexually inappropriate, again, a simple stop. No. If they're persistent, let somebody else know. Okay. It happens. Fathers progress far enough in this disease that they're not recognizing themselves, let alone daughter. And why is daughter taking me in a bathroom to give me a shower? Well, she's trying to be the kind, loving daughter that's helping dad. And he's just looking at this young chickie that's, in the bathroom with me. Stop. And ladies will do this too, so don't just blame, it's not just men. I thought I'd clear that up for us. Women will make sexual requests too, because they don't understand. So just stop. No. And I always tell, when ladies say things to me, I say, well, I am so flattered. Thank you. No. I'm not trying to embarrass them about what they've said. It's not very often that women just ask me if I want to do things, so it's like, well, thank you. No. But don't shame them. Remember when we talked about the 5 realms of humanity: biological, psychological, sociological, sexual, spiritual beings. Those are the 5 realms. And yes, sexuality is a very important part of who we are, because if it wasn't, there would have only been one generation of man and it would have been over. So yes, who we are, even our sexual being, is okay. Remember that they're losing their impulse control. This is something to always remember. Impulse control is learned behavior. Somewhere along the line, I'm sure your mother said, "And what did you just say, young man?" "Well, I learned this at school today, Mom." Right. I made that mistake. I was out with the guys, and my mother pulled me right and said, "Excuse me, only white trash use that kind of language, and I'm going to make sure you never say that word again." My mouth, ivory soap. But you know what? I never said that word in front of my mother till the day she died. We laughed about it because I'd say, "Remember when you washed my mouth?" And she said, "And you've never said that word, have you, son?" I went, "Not around you." And she goes, so don't take anything they say to you personally. Again, it can't hurt you unless you allow it to hurt you. You know, you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny. You choose, she's smiling. I wasn't joking, no. You choose, I'm gonna let that hurt me or not? He's an idiot, what does he know? I know I look good today. It can't hurt you unless you let it. So if they look at you and go, "Get the hell away from me," okay, fine. My favorite. Delete the word remember from your vocabulary. If they could remember, then they wouldn't have a memory problem or a diagnosis of dementia. And I see families do this. Remember? No. Oh, come on, you got to remember. No. And all it does is frustrate them. Just take that word out. Unless you want to say, "Remember in high school?" They'll go with you on that one. But asking them to remember something a year ago. "Remember the house?" No, I don't. I had dementia when we moved there. We were there 3 years. I'm now in a facility. No, I don't remember that kind of information. So just delete the word from your vocabulary. It's so much easier for them. Any questions about communicating, how you talk to your loved ones? Oh, come on, I can't be that good at this.
I remember the first time my mom hurt my feelings, and it was like, just like you said, you know, you can't own it, you can't let it get to you. And then the other day she told me to shut up, and it was like, what? Yeah, I didn't say anything.
Well, it catches people by such surprise.
Mom just told me to shut up.
You know, and the one that always cracks me up is husband, well, we'll pick on this couple. Husband, wives, he has Alzheimer's, his impulse is slipping away, and she does something, and he just turns around and goes, "Look, you goddamn," and the words just fly out, and the wives look and they go, "My God, where did he learn those?" Well, when he was 16, 70 years ago, he learned those. Everyone in this room, even you, know the 7 words we're not supposed to use, but they feel really good when you're in a car by yourself and the guy cuts you off. Okay? You know, sometimes we add hand gestures to it. Okay? But you're in the car, a guy cuts you off, and all your grandchildren are sitting in the car, you're going to go, "Oh gosh darn, that man was really a dummy poo-poo, wasn't he?" Okay, we know how to do that. That's our impulse. He knows all the bad words. I'm thinking she probably knows them all too, but she's not going to use them unless she's probably in the right circumstance. Again, don't take anything they say to you personally. Yeah.
Well, I think the hardest thing for me was the first couple times she's done it to me. But the first time, the very first time, was the realization she really didn't know who I was. And it just hit me so hard. And then when I tried explaining to her, because I felt that.
Oh, you mean logic?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Because I came out of your womb, Ma. You know what I mean?
And she was going, womb. Now, wait a moment.
Well, I was.
That's something I haven't thought about in 30 years.
Just to let her know about it.
Okay.
And it was funny because my dad was sitting there, and I says, I'm your daughter, and she kept insisting. I never had children. I was never married. My father's sitting right there.
Yeah.
And he says, what do you mean? Blinkety blink, boom, boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very common problem.
And then she had to sit there for a while. She thought about it. She goes, oh, Janie, I know who you are.
And especially when they look and you go, my daughter, and I go into my brain, well, long term kicks in instantly. I'm looking going, no, my children are 10, 12, and 14. I don't know who you are. And so I keep looking, I'm thinking, okay, she must be my sister, my mother. It's very common for them to transpose children into parental figures. Because what else do? We start acting parental with them. No, Mom, we're going to go to the doctor now. To which, if you had done that 10 years ago, they would have said, excuse me, young lady? And we'd have gone, okay, sorry, Mom. You want to go to the doctor or not? Giving them, but now we have to do the It's that role reversal that gets to be so difficult. So we sound parental. Get up, we're going now. That sounds like something your father would say to you. But we're just actually trying to get done what we need to get done. So they start flipping who you are. You must be my dad. I'm your son. No, my son's, he was killed during World War, the Korean War. No, that's the other brother. That was your brother. I'm the son. It's very common. And again, don't take it on. Don't worry about it. You're there. She's your mother. But don't take it on personally. Don't interpersonalize those feelings.
It's hard for me because,
well, of course it is. If you think it's hard for you, the child, wait till it's you, the wife of 65 years, and you walk and they go, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, it was tough. And then right away she switched it around later to I was her mother. That's exactly what you said. And it just keeps bouncing.
And when I talk about inappropriate sexual behavior, the sexual requests and stuff, the other one that gets messed up, and especially for women, they leave their husbands in a dementia unit. They come in to see them a couple days later, and they look and they go, so, who have you been catting around town with all weekend long? I know what you've been doing. And you're thinking, I'm way past catting, thank you. But because you haven't been there, you must have been fooling around. It's the logical brain.
And something that's very true. When my dad was in the hospital, my mom thought my father was going to end up finding a nurse.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
It's very common. So, and that's where I don't want you to argue and go, what do you think? I am 80 years old. What makes you think I'd be outcast? Blah, blah, blah. You're wasting your time. You're wasting their time. Just let it go. Again, can't hurt you unless you let it. Now, if you've been out catting around, go ahead and feel guilty. If you haven't been, then don't worry about it. But it's a very common, women will scream it at husbands, husbands will scream it at wives.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, how do you deal with it?
How do you deal with that? I mean,
Ignore it?
And
kind of.
What do they?
Okay. You and I are having a fight. Okay, we can argue this one. What do you mean out catting around? I have never cheated on you in my life. Why would I start cheating now? Your answer is, well, you haven't been here. Well, what makes you think? Okay, there's the logical back and forth. I'm trying to use logic with you. Easier, because I'm not going to remember it very long, so don't continue the fight. I know you've missed me, and I'm sure you've been worried, but you know what? Let's go and take a walk. Where would you like to go? I'm going to the garden.
Distract them.
That's it.
We call it divert. Address, I'm sure you've missed me. Address the feeling. I know you've missed me. I'm so sorry. Divert. Right turn. Let's take a walk. I want to walk. Let's go.
I've had husbands come in with their girlfriends in front of the person.
Okay.
With dementia.
Here we go.
The wife won't say anything until they're gone, and then she's crying for the next 3 or 4 hours after.
Yes. Okay. And it happens both ways. I'm sorry. Yes. A lot of times, men will put their wives in, or wives will put their husbands in, and then develop a relationship. Okay? I understand the relationship. I'm 70. I'm alone. I don't do well alone. Men don't like being alone. We like partners. Okay, and women will do the same thing. I always tell them, okay, I understand what's going on here, but please, don't rub your spouse's nose in. Oh, they don't know. Yes, they do. They have Alzheimer's. They're not stupid. Don't bring the boyfriend, the girlfriend with you. And we see it. More than once. So I just always tell them, please, leave the loved one. The weirdest one was the husband whose wife was in, and his girlfriend was his wife's best friend. So when the wife, she'd gone through it with the husband, and when they got her place, then love was in the air. It was pretty natural. I mean, it made sense to me. They'd been around each other for 25 years. Her husband was gone. And in essence, he's losing his wife. Little bits every day are floating away. Do I condone it? I understand it. I don't always, what you do at home, I'm fine with. But don't bring it into the facility. It's just too hard because and I always tell people, there's good days, there's bad days. And we were talking about that. Some days you go in and they are clear. Oh my God, well, where have you been, sweetheart? It's so good to see you. You're going, oh my God, she recognizes me. You know what? That's when I just change my entire plan of the day. I'm going to hang with you as long as I can because today's a good day. And I always tell you, if you walk in and you go, Mom, and they go, get the hell out of here. Okay. Really, leave. Take the good days for the good, but don't keep going, Mom. If it's a good day, hang with them as much as you can. If it's a bad day, don't force yourself on them. If it's just, quote unquote, what I call a flat day, neither good nor bad, it's just hi, holding hands, talking about sisters, brothers, whatever. I always tell them, talk with them, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Talk to them, because there's going to come a day that you would wish that nonsense would be coming out of their mouth. Because
You don't know how long it's going to last. Because that good day could last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, a half an hour.
It could be 4 hours, and you're thinking, I really need to go to the grocery store. We're going out for burgers tonight. Mom had a good day. I stayed. Sorry, I didn't shop. Period. Good for you. If it's a bad day, Mom started screaming. I just exited. That's why I'm home so early. Okay, any more questions, guys? Come on. All right.
Yeah.
Now, a month from today. Well, yeah. What is this? It's the last Wednesday of the month, right? Isn't that when we decided this one is? We're going to do the legal issues. What is competency? What is a durable power of attorney? What is an executor? What is a Baker Act? All those questions that people always ask me about. Is it too late to take my mom in to an attorney? Do you have brothers or sisters? Oh, no. You got brothers and sisters. We're doomed. Unless they all will work with you on this. Trust me, I've gone through it too many times. You add a death, what you thought was the simplest thing in the world turns into the biggest fiasco. And I'm going through one right now. My mother-in-law died about a month ago. Her wishes: cremate me, take me to Willamette, that's in Portland, and put me in Daddy's grave. No ceremony, nothing. Now the sisters and brothers are fighting about when the ceremony will be and when my wife, who has the ashes, and just so you know, guys, if you're transporting your loved one, you can do it with you in a carry-on, but make sure you ask the funeral parlor for the paperwork that will say, you know, Carm View is carrying his mother-in-law, Marguerite Erworth. These are her remains in this bag that we sealed, you know, so that they go, okay, because they can x-ray them. Except for, I guess, 2 days ago in Orlando, a TSA agent opened a jar and started fishing around, and Grandma was falling all over the floor. He is suing, and I don't blame him, because it was clearly marked remains of. And she laughed, because he's going, my God, it's my grandmother. What are you doing? So it gets better and better. But if you need to transport, make sure you ask the funeral home for all the paperwork, and they will give it to you. I know. But that's what I told my wife. Your sister can complain all she wants. All the paperwork says Elizabeth Ellen View, not Virginia Gagne. She can't carry that box without and not expect not to be searched. My wife can. So anyway, we're going to talk legal issues, what all this means, wills, legal issues, death, the whole 9 yards.